Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities such as new companies and potential business partners and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. Joseph Diego here, along with Toby Lamb from the podium finish, Joshua Birch Motorsports, and Adam Lemeries, our supercars expert. A big thank you and welcome to our Patreon subscribers. Calling the show Mark and Robin for keeping us on the air. You too can invest in the Grid Network, have your name displayed on the air each and every program, or invest through Buy Me a Coffee, a one-time contribution to help us keep on the air and be at the track week in and week out to bring you coverage. And we have a lot of coverage this week, and we will start with MotoGP, NASCAR at Nashville, SRX at South Boston Raceway, and World Rally Championship for Safari Kenya Rally. And overall, we encourage everyone in the chat room to participate. We'd love to hear your opinions, questions, and feedback on the air. Before we get started with the racing action, we want to acknowledge our role here in the Grid Network, giving a platform to Black, LGBTQA, and women in motorsports. We've reported and discussed Black Lives Matter, racism, discrimination against the LGBT community, and efforts to be more inclusive and women racing and in motorsports. Yesterday, the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, which has seen a negative response from many females, including women athletes and a member of the motorsports community. We are following this ongoing situation, and we will report on it on our Women in Motorsports program. We have reported on topics many find uneasy about reporting, and we won't shy away just now. This is our job as motorsports journalists. This is something we take seriously, and we definitely are going to be reporting on all the news throughout the week as it occurs. And with that said, we will turn our attention to this weekend's races, starting with MotoGP. Joshua, they're at the Cathedral of motorcycle racing. It is a huge weekend for MotoGP, a huge today. Practicing qualifying. The drama started early in Q1, and his bike quit just as he was exiting the pits. A really tough break for him. So overall, Juan Mir, the 2020 champion, he went down. He did not get into Q1. Two riders that did get into Q2, Miguel Oliveira, Brad Binder, the KTMs, they are in the top 12. For riders that did not advance to Q2, what's the likelihood of any of them making it into the podium by the end of the race?
Well, honestly, as well, and obviously this was a bad idea because all the jets going over above, it's blowing the wind around a lot. So it's a bit like being in Melbourne. Chances of anybody getting through to the podium positions, even into the top 7, realistically, is very, very hard indeed. Aston's a type of track where you can do a lot of slipstreaming and a lot of overtaking if you are cautious as well. We remember the race back in, 2019, the fantastic slip and slide we have for the lead between 7 riders. But it is a hard track to overtake at. First 3 corners, 3 very tight right-handers, then straight to the left. We saw already people falling over in the practice sessions as well. Jack Miller and Bastianini did it as well in practice 4 and in practice 2. So it's very hard and very easy to get it wrong on a snap of a finger. I'm predicting as well, Bastianini didn't have his, as you said, had his bike stopping him at the start of qualifying, didn't get through, now is getting stuck. It started so well at the beginning of the season, it's gone so wrong in the second half. I think we're going to see the podium positions and the top 5 at least coming from inside the top 10. I can't see anybody else improving for the big points out there tomorrow. They're just too far back. Honda having an absolute horrible one as well, with no Paul Espargaro, Stefan Bradl on there as well. It is just all a mess right now with some of the big factory teams. It's just going to allow the likes of the 2 Ducatis and the 2 Yamahas just go up front, control the race, exactly what they need to do as well. As I think, I'm just being told that there's another plane coming over in a minute. So if you hear I think it's a Hurricane next, a Hurricane bomber going to come across next. We've already had the Red Hours. I think there's a Hurricane next as well. It's Armed Forces Day over here in the UK as well. So thought treat you all to the sounds, but it's just wind at the moment.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Whoa!
In the chat room for you, Josh. I noticed compared to F1, riders spend a lot of time on the track compared to F1 when there are only 1 or 2 hot laps. They're a different strategy. I think referring to maybe qualifying, we see how Nea Bassini lost a lot of time. Is there a difference where in F1 you got to take care of those tires, and here you just want to log laps?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. With Formula One, they're qualifying tyres as well. The soft tyres can usually they're designed to obviously run multiple laps in the race. But for getting in the sweet spot, you bake them up to a certain temperature, and then they're in a good working zone for around about 2 or 3 laps. Then the pressures change for the race. So say you've got 120 degrees, bake the tyres for qualifying, you turn that down to 80 for when you want to use them for as a race set. So it just burns the bitumen away on the tyre as well as the surface, so it reacts better and it gets better grip. For instance, the back of your hand is a different texture to the front of your hand. Imagine the front's softer, so that would be what's hitting the ground for qualifying to get your best traction. For the race, turn it over, and that's the different rubber, so it's harder to work away. MotoGP tyres at some circuits as well, here at Assen, it's one of them, they have asymmetric tyres, so one side is harder compared to the other side. Here, I think it's the left that's harder compared to the right, because we've got more left-handers than right-handers. It was the same at Germany a week ago when we had 3 right-hand corners and 10 left-hand corners. So it's that type of situation. The multiple laps is because the tyres can do more. They stand up to more pressure on a MotoGP. Usually we see them do an out lap, 2 laps, and then into the pit lane, and a quick change over to bike number 2, and off you go again. So they're always on the track with a different set of tyre. As well, in different bike, different setups. It's often we see them switching around. The only rule is the bike you qualify your fastest time on is the bike you have to start the race on, unless it's destroyed in the warm-up. Usually the warm-up you do on your second bike in case there's an accident with your first. And then judging tomorrow as well with the rain that's due to be around for MotoGP, today's bike, that'll be set up for dry. The bike that they'll test in the warm-up will get changed over and have a wet setup. So if it's a flag to flag, they'll come in, change over to wet bikes and go. Or if it's a full red flag, it's just a quicker procedure to restarting the race than normal. So there's a lot of track time out there, just so they've got more data. I have heard that they want to change that next year. All practice sessions, there's going to be 3 of them, and they're going to be 40 minutes each. So it's roughly around about the same time. But they're trying to change the show because everyone's saying we've got about 3 hours of practice and they're only out there for 45 minutes. It's not good enough to call a Grand Prix weekend.
Well, thank you for that explanation, Joshua. That's what Day in the Life says, and we encourage everyone in the chat room to be sure to share your questions, comments, and opinions with us on the air. Now, Q2, Jorge Martin, he started off with a new record lap, 131.708, but then Pecco Bagnaia went out there and snatched it with a 131.504. It looked like it was going to be Ducati all up front, but we saw Fabio Quartararo took second. Martin settled for third. Jack Miller, he brought out a caution. Zarco, he was in Q2, but wasn't exactly up there. So it wasn't exactly the kind of Ducati performance we anticipate, especially with teammate Fabio not making it into Q2. The top 4 riders, all under the record set last year by Maverick Vinales. Quartararo, we noticed, was the fastest rider in sectors 3 and 4. Bagnaia, fastest in sector 1. How hard will Quartararo push Pecco, especially since Quartararo, he has a pretty comfortable lead overall, especially over Pecco Bagnaia. He is way down the point. And with Pecco's recent history of crashing out, how hard will he be pushing him in the start and throughout the race?
He's going to be pushing him like mad. I think everyone got a surprise at the German Grand Prix a week ago where it was turn 2 and Quartararo was already alongside Beppo into the first couple of corners. Quartararo is going to have it in his... I'm going to put these on now. I've got bright sunlight on me, so sorry for commentating in shades, but still, it's either that or squint. Right. Quartararo is going to push Bagnaia incredibly hard. But he's going to know he doesn't have to push too hard until the last couple of laps. 3 of the last 4 races, Quartararo has just sat behind and allowed Bagnaia to crash. One of those, admittedly, is turn 1, and it was Nakagami's fault, but Bagnaia keeps on crashing. It is a situation where even the team are starting to have a word with him now as well. And it's a question of, can Bagnaia hold that inner strength? Can he say, no, I will have a good race. I will get this off from pole and take the win? I don't think he will. I think Quartararo is in an unstoppable form right now. He's leading the championship. It's Aleix Espargaro we've got to watch out for as well. As you can see in the standings, just 34 points back. Look at where Bagnaia is, 91 points back. And that is coming from, what was it, 3 races in a row with no points as well. His championship is done. It's just about getting to the finish now. And I think Quartararo versus Aleix Espargaro will be the battle to watch tomorrow.
Yeah, Aleix, he's going to have to really perform, try to close that gap, because as you said, 91 points, and after this week, 9 rounds left. So MotoGP season's coming to an end because the Finland Grand Prix, that's not going to happen. That has been canceled. So the British Grand Prix will be the first race in August. So we have a pretty long summer break for the MotoGP riders and teams. One team that looks like they could use that break, Suzuki. Ever since the news that they were leaving, it's been nothing but just dreadful weekend after dreadful weekend. We go to the British Grand Prix Silverstone. That was the site of Alex Rins' dramatic win over Marc Marquez with a last lap, last straight, right at the line, pass, exiting the final corner. Today, Suzuki, they saw Rins in Q2, but Mir, he did not advance. In fact, as I mentioned, he went down early on in Q1. With this long break, can Suzuki gain anything or regroup during this much more longer summer break?
5 weeks off, that is the perfect amount of time to find out what is wrong with the bike and get it fixed. It's not like Formula One where they have to shut down production for 2 weeks. They can keep going, but they must give their staff a rotation of time. So they can keep going. They can find out what the problem is. But at the same time as they're doing that, everybody else is going to be developing their bike as well. Some people are going to design it for 3 weeks, then that's it until the end of the season. And they're going to start developing on the 2023 bike. So we're getting to that end of the season where Suzuki isn't going to develop a 2023 bike. They've left the sport. So they are going to go all out for the end of the year, because if they want anything, they want to leave MotoGP on a high with a lot of good memories. And personally as well, for Alex Rins, and Alex Rins especially, I would say, Johan Mir's already looks like he's got another seat lined up elsewhere. Rins has been floating around but needs to knock it down. For both of them, this is their last shot to get a ride in MotoGP for 2023. And that is going to be entertainment enough by the time we head back to Silverstone as well, as now I'm being joined by a bee. So I'm a bit like Rowan Atkinson at the moment. So the B movie is coming on. But no, British Grand Prix, 5 weeks time. Still waiting for accreditation on that. If I am trackside, though, I know exactly where I'm going, first of all. Suzuki Garage, to find out exactly what on earth is going on. I've got a feeling the summer break is going to be fab. And when we get to Silverstone, it's going to be even better.
Silverstone's going to be really good. I think it's going to be a really great week. And this weekend, of course, every team wants to go start our 5-week break with a high performance, great performance, and especially a win. And we see Adam here. That means it's time for your pick of winners.
That's right. That is absolutely right. And Josh, before we let you leave over there in the UK sunshine, I got to ask, Fabio Quartararo won last time out at the Sachsenring in Germany. So, Josh, my question to you is, can Quartararo make it 2 wins in a row tomorrow at the Dutch TT at the historic Austin Circuit in the Netherlands?
Yes, he can. I'm going to say he'll win. Fabio Quartararo will win. He's in an unstoppable form at the moment. I think it's just a matter of time before he's world champion for a second time. So yeah, my MotoGP will go to Fabio Quartararo.
That's a good, solid choice, Josh, and we thank you for your time. Enjoy Armed Forces Day over there in the UK.
Beautiful sunshine for you.
Enjoy the sunshine over there in the UK as well. And Joe, I think it's time that you and I discuss what's happening over in Kenya as the World Rally Championship is back there this weekend for the legendary Safari Rally.
And it's been a wild one, Adam. Overall, we saw the big shakeups on Friday when a lot of people thought it was just going to be a pretty straightforward weekend and at least a day, Friday, of racing for World Rally Championship, but that was not the case. Craig Breen was out with a tire came loose on the first stage and then a small fire. Sebastian Ogier was strong. He and Evans, both of them, lost a lot of time Friday with punctured tires. Sebastian Loeb, for a while with the lead, he lost it with an engine issue, putting him out on the final stage of Friday. All this gave the lead to Kalle Rovanperä. Kalle Rovanperä trying to get another win. He has 3 this year. Thierry Neuville, Oliver Solberg, they both have issues with extreme dust all day Friday. So this really just left to where Rovanperä wasn't a cakewalk because he said it was such tricky conditions. And then today, Saturday, was just as chaotic as Friday. We have more cars having issues, heavy downpour and rain. Sebastian Loeb, he was back again, but major damage, no left front tire. It was riding on the rim, suspension damage. You could see that front wheel just moving back and forth as it was accelerating and hitting the brakes. He finished stage 13 with all that damage. Thierry Neuville, he hit a tree head on. With all the puddles we saw from the rain, the mud, the windshield wipers are not that effective. He went straight into a tree. The huge puddles, you don't want to go over them because you could hydroplane, get stuck. Just all sorts of chaos in this race. Rovanperä, he now has a 40-second lead over Elfyn Evans, and Elfyn Evans had issues with visibility, especially his windshield wiper system was just not working at all compared to Rovanperä. So Rovanperä, he's looking really strong for his 4th win this year, Adam. 40 seconds ahead of him, and he's still the only racer to have multiple wins in World Rally Championship. If Rovanperä pulls this win off, does this indicate that this is Rovanperä's championship to lose?
Absolutely, Joe. If Rovanperä can hold that 40-second lead over Elfyn Evans and the rest of the field going into tomorrow's final day of competition in Kenya, I think in order to win the World Rally Championship, you're going to have to beat Kalle Rovanperä. You mentioned he has 3 wins so far this year. And it's been and this rally in Kenya has had so many different weather conditions. You mentioned the extreme dust. You mentioned the rain. Tomorrow's last day, you're going to have a strong car to get through all the different elements, all the different types of roads that you're going to encounter. And if Kalle Rovanperä can hold off Elfyn Evans and the rest of the field, this is Kalle Rovanperä championship to lose. And to me, I think Kalle Rovanperä can win the World Rally Championship title at the end of the year.
It looks like it's in his hands, but it's not just yet. We still got quite a bit of racing to go, and bad luck could always happen. His teammates, Hyundai, they're going to be looking to rebound. Of course, we're going to have the full results on Grid Wrap-Up, and we're going to have 2 Grid Wrap-Up programs since we have such a late start for the NASCAR Cup Series race in Nashville. Kobe Lambis from the Podium Finish joins us to preview the NASCAR Cup Series Ally 400.
Yeah, and after a week off, the NASCAR Cup Series back in action at Nashville Super Speedway in the great state of Tennessee for the Ally 400, kicking off NBC Sports broadcast coverage to end the 2022 season. A wise decision with the 5 p.m. Eastern Time start time with extremely hot temperatures expected. SMI has been ensuring fan safety, including adding free water filling stations and free cooling towers, extra shaded areas too, and we hope all fans in attendance stay safe and hydrated. These temperatures are expected to be similar to what we saw a couple of years ago at Chicagoland Speedway when some fans were having a really tough time in the heat, and we hope that it'll be much better this time around. However, it looks like rain could be a factor as well, along with the extreme heat. Joe, if we get the race going, how hard will everyone be pushing, especially with no assurance it will go to full distance?
No assurance we will go to full distance. We know there's rain before the race. There's a window. Then the race supposedly is going to start, and then more rain showers. As you can see there, 57% chance of rain. So if this race gets going, which of course the fans will be happy, I think everybody will be relieved it's not going to be that hot. We're not in the triple digits. For the drivers, they now got to be concerned because they know, especially once we get closer to the end of stage two, the halfway point, you got to start looking at where's everyone else? Where are we with tires, fuel, the rain? And this is really where it's going to get really intense, trying to pass as many vehicles as possible, save gas in case we get a caution or the stage break. It's going to be all mayhem for that crew chief. A lot of work to try to position your driver in the right place. But that's the big thing. The first part is you have to get there. You cannot have trouble on that first stage. I think for stage one, you might see drivers just try to feel out the car. I think we're going to have a long green flag run unless we get heavy rains before and then a competition caution. Everyone's going to try to feel out where the car is setup wise. And then it's once we get to stage two, you're going to see everyone trying to make as many passes as possible, try to get to the front, and everyone having an eye on the weather radar.
Yeah, I'll agree with everything you said, Joe. And let our viewers know it's been really, really hot all throughout the southeast so far this summer, and I'm happy I'm happy to see that SMI what they're doing at the Nashville Super Speedway tomorrow. Making sure all the fans stay really cool with the heat. And so I think tomorrow you're going to have to, in stage one, you're going to have to go out as hard as you can because, like you mentioned, we don't know if the race will be full distance. So just pit stops are going to be a key strategy tomorrow going forward, and especially qualifying. If you can start probably inside the top 15, I think you have a good shot of winning the race tomorrow in Nashville.
Yeah, yeah, and when you're thinking about weather being a factor in the races, it might end up being a race to halfway, and that might be a good thing for all the fans of the track and people watching the NASCAR race all around the world, because we've seen time and time again when rain is in the forecast and these NASCAR races don't know when it's going to end. We usually see some very very intense racing, and when rain's not in the forecast, sometimes we're sitting, obviously take it easy during the first stage of the race, and then intensity picks up as the race goes on. But we might see intensity right from the drop of the green flag, and it'll be really crazy if rain does indeed play a factor. So we're certainly going to be watching the radar tomorrow all throughout the day and see how this shapes up. And we have 12 different winners so far this year. And the last time out, Daniel Suarez became the fourth first time winner of the season at Sonoma, and some drivers still looking for their first career cup win. Tyler Reddick from Richard Childress Racing, Harrison Burden from Wood Brothers Racing, and Todd Gilliland from Front Row Motorsports. So Burden and Gilliland, two rookies there. It will be a surprise to see one of those two young drivers get a win this year. But Tyler Reddick's been so close so many times, but just hasn't been able to pull into victory lane yet. It's kind of Reddick actually kind of reminds me of Kyle Larson. It seemed like Kyle Larson. It took him forever to get. It seemed like it took forever for Larson to get his very first Cup win. So many things went wrong, and it just didn't happen. And Tyler Reddick, just like Larson, knocking on the door to get that first win. Starting with you this time, Adam. Do you see us getting 5 first-time winners this year, and who on that list is most likely to get it?
You just mentioned Kobe. Tyler Reddick from Richard Childress Racing. To me, he has been so close so many times. And I think once he gets his first win, I don't think it'll be long before he gets multiple wins in the NASCAR Cup Series. He has a really good team in Richard that he drives for in Richard Childress Racing. And RCR has always had strong equipment throughout its history. So to me, I'm going to say Tyler Reddick. And I think sometime before the end of the year, Tyler Reddick becomes the next first-time winner in the NASCAR Cup Series. So close, yet so far. Well, I think we may get 5 with Tyler Reddick going through to take the checkered flag sometime this year.
Tyler Reddick, I do see as the driver most likely in that list to get their first career win. I am more skeptical that will happen. Seems after Bristol, yeah, he has a couple good runs, but it doesn't seem like he is up as front leading as much as he used to prior to that Bristol race. Remember, he had California Auto Club Speedway in control until that late tire blew on him. Tyler Reddick, he needs to get that win before Daytona. That'll just make it so much easier for him and the team. If he enters Daytona, just like last year, winless, looking for that win, I see potential for making a mistake. It's going to be trying too hard to get that win. Then the playoffs, we know the playoff teams always step up. Really, it's Talladega, the only track where a non-playoff team could potentially steal a win like Bubba Wallace did last year. So overall, we're going to see a lot going on when it comes to the big racing at NASCAR. The big teams, they're going to be really pushing. Richard Childress Racing, Austin Dillon's winless, Tyler Reddick's winless. I don't see them getting a win before the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think based on those three I just mentioned, that Tyler Reddick is probably the most likely to get a win, and it's been surprising to me that he still hasn't been able to break through and get that win yet. But I do think it's going to happen before the end of the regular season. Tyler Reddick is finally gonna find his way in the victory lane. It might come as soon as tomorrow in the state of Tennessee. Tyler Reddick looked really good in opening practice. Yeah, yesterday in Nashville, and we have qualifying coming up shortly. So Reddick's going to try to lay down a good lap and see if he can try to get a top 10 starting spot and go from there. I think Tyler Reddick is certainly going to win a lot of Cup Series races during his career at NASCAR's top level. And got a comment there from a day in the life said that Ross Chastain will be one to watch. Yeah, Ross Chastain is always someone to watch each and every week now. Trackhouse have 2 drivers now in the playoffs with him and Daniel Suarez and Trackhouse. They're definitely for real now. I think people really need to take them serious as championship contenders, especially with the driver of the number 1 Chevrolet, Ross Chastain, because Ross has been really good at every track, whether it's a super speedway, a mile and a half, a short track, a road course, and that's exactly what you need if you want to be a true contender in this championship. You need to be good at all the different types of track on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. And along with the first time winners, we have a list of drivers that won in past seasons, but not this year yet. And those who haven't won: Martin Truex Jr., Bubba Wallace, Kevin Harvick, Eric Jones, just to name a few. And with only 4 drivers currently inside the playoffs without a win, 12 spots filled with winners, which drivers will have the most pressure on them leading up to the postseason? The drivers without a win this year, or the drivers with only 1 win?
I think the pressure is going to come for the drivers that have 1 win, but it's not going to start until we get a driver that doesn't win a race this year gets his first win. Once we have 13 different winners, I think is when we're going to see it really start to develop that the drivers with one win now have to perform and get 2 wins. And that's going to be hard. Austin Cindric, he won at Daytona. He's a rookie. He's had a couple of strong finishes, particularly on the road courses. Everything else has not been that great. Doesn't want to really be in the situation about getting a second win before Daytona again. Eric Almirola, he is winless. If he could go out there and get a win, he could easily be in that list for the playoffs. But then he'll be in a situation where if he doesn't win again and we get more drivers, he could be out of the playoffs. So still the chances of a driver getting a win and not in the playoffs, I think, are pretty slim. But if we get another 2 first-time winners this year, not just first-time career winners, but first time this season, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, who's been running pretty strong couple races, and Bubba Wallace, he was fastest yesterday in practice. If we get 2 or 3 of those drivers getting the wins, then the pressure shifts to the drivers with only 1 win this season.
Yeah, Joe, and I do believe that Martin Truex Jr. signed a 1-year contract extension with Joe Gibbs Racing until next year, and a lot of people thought he was going to retire after this season. Well, he's sticking around for at least 1 more year. And getting back to the question, I think the drivers with 1 win need to look out because you mentioned we could have drivers who don't have a win this year get a win, and we could see someone with 1 win out of the playoffs. So, especially like you mentioned, Joe, Austin Cindric won the Daytona 500. Well, we go to Daytona pretty soon, so Austin Cindric can go out there and win that race at Daytona and be solidly in the playoffs. And we take a look at the standings here on the screen. I think you're going to have at least 2 wins to get into the playoffs this year. The drivers with 1 win, they need to go out there and perform a lot better if they want to make the NASCAR playoffs this season.
Yeah, and I actually think the drivers with the most pressure on them not going to be the one. I mean, there's still going to be a lot of pressure on the drivers who haven't won yet to try to get in the playoff. But I think the pressure is really growing on the drivers with only 1 win. I mean, we have 10. I believe we have 10 races to go until the playoffs, and we already have drivers with 12 drivers with at least 1 win. So there's only 4 slots there for you to make it on points. And with the way this season is going, we very well might get close to 16 race winners. I'm not sure if we're going to exceed that, but if I'm towards the bottom of the list of 1 race winners, like Kurt Busch and Austin Cindric, someone like that, I definitely try to get another win so I can have some reassurance that I'm certainly going to be in the playoffs, and we don't have to ask any questions about or wonder if we're going to be in serious trouble. But I think Austin Cindric might be in a good position to get a second win because Austin has a strong background in road course racing. We have 3 road courses coming up on the schedule in the next few weeks and months ahead. We have Road America coming up next, and then we also have the Indy Road Course and Watkins Glen too. So those are some great tracks for Austin Cindric to potentially pick up some wins. And we do have a question in the chat room, I believe, from A Day in the Life asking, is Tyler Reddick in a contract year? And I'm really glad you brought that up because Bob Parkers from Fox Sports gave a really good answer to that question on Twitter just moments ago. Bob Parker says that RCR has an option on Tyler Reddick for 2023, and they will love to have him back and exercise the option, but with some seats potentially being available, Reddick is on the radar for several teams. So obviously Tyler Reddick is going to look and see what's out there and see if there's a potentially a better option out here for him to be competitive and take the next step in his NASCAR Cup Series career. And Parker adds, but for Reddick not to return, it would take some or a lot of negotiation if another team wanted to get him in 2023 as opposed to 2024. So, yeah, and you also then the life also says that no wins equals 1 year extension. Or out of that, right? Really appreciate you for sharing your comments. And last year, Kyle Larson got his third win in a row after he won Nashville, fourth if you wanted to count the Texas All Star race. And some interesting news that broke this week about the All Star race. Adam Stern from Sports Business Journal reported that Fox Sports is pushing NASCAR to move the All Star race from Texas Motor Speedway next year. And Fox Sports would really like to see the All Star race rotate from year to year, like you see in other sports. How you see the NBA, like the NBA All Star game. It moves from city to city every other year. Now Fox Sports, they don't. It seems like they don't really want to see the All Star race at Texas Motor Speedway again. They want to see it at a different track. So and typically when you have uh, television pushing for something like that, your wish is more than likely going to be granted. And getting back on topic, the mile and a half ovals have seen some really great racing this year, and this concrete natural track is slightly shorter at 1.333 miles, and it'll be very hot, as we've been saying. This could be a race where the drivers will have a handful trying to control the cars. We've seen with other races so far. And in the 4 mile and a half races, we've had four different race winners: Alex Bowman at Las Vegas, Kurt Busch at Kansas, Denny Hamlin, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then William Byron at the different Atlanta Motor Speedway that races like a super speedway now. Do any of those drivers seem like a strong favorite for the win in Nashville?
Yes. And I'll let our viewers know one of those drivers is actually my pick a winner for tomorrow in Nashville. So stay tuned at the end of the show. All four of those drivers have a really good shot to win tomorrow. And you mentioned Colby, this Nashville Super Speedway is just a little shorter, under a mile and a half, and 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 it's the only time this year that we are here. So car control is going to be really key in tomorrow's race. So I do anticipate one of those four drivers winning tomorrow and getting that beautiful guitar trophy that whoever wins it in the Music City tomorrow afternoon.
I think the winner is not going to be one of those four, to be honest. The way the mile and a half ovals are, they're almost so unpredictable. I mean, Denny Hamlin, he did not have that great of a Charlotte race. Right place, right time to get the win. Kurt Busch, he had a strong Kansas car, but we know how close that was to him not earning the win. And then Bowman, well, as Kyle Busch said, he sort of backed into the win, even though he raced hard lap after lap and put himself in the position to get the win with the pit stop. And Atlanta is just so different. William Byron, anybody could have won that race. For some drivers, that was their best race because it was just pretty much a mini super speedway. I'm looking at Kyle Larson, what he did at Auto Club Speedway, what he done here last year. He has to be one of the favorites. Eric Jones, Tyler Reddick, if both of them have a good, strong setup, I see them putting up front. But I'm really looking at potentially the two favorites. Has to be Trackhouse Racing. They are fast week in and week out. Daniel Suarez, he has the confidence. He got his first win. That's out of the way. He's going out there to try to get more wins, prove he could do this, not just on the road course, but in the oval. The momentum has been with that team all year. That's been the strongest team so far this season, week after week. And I see Trackhouse Racing being real legitimate contenders. This is their home race for the team. I think they're going to have a lot of positive momentum and a lot of speed, and we're going to see that Sunday.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could say it's a home race for a team. Certainly a home race for for a team owner, Justin Marks. I know Justin Marks has said that that he really would love to build a track house shop in Nashville someday. Right now, they're working out of the old Chip Ganassi Racing NASCAR shop in North Carolina, but Justin Marks really sees a lot of value in going to Nashville. So we'll probably see Trackhouse Racing based out of Nashville at some point in a not so distant future. And I certainly think Ross Chastain certainly is going to be a contender for the win this weekend. And I'm also looking at the Toyota drivers. Toyota looked really strong yesterday. And probably mentioned Bubba Wallace, fastest, and Kyle Busch was right up there behind him. Could be a really good weekend for Toyota. And I'm sure after the disastrous race they had at Sonoma and 1 week off, they want to put that bad weekend behind them and start off strong as we begin the long stretch running down to the Championship 4 race at Phoenix Raceway. And before we move on to our next section, I had some breaking news to share from Watkins Glen International. It was announced that JDC Miller Motorsports, which currently fills the number 5 Mustang sampling Cadillac DPI, is going to be leaving Cadillac at the end of 2022 and starting in 2023. They're going to be fielding one of the new Porsche LMDH cars that was officially unveiled yesterday. The car is called the Porsche 963 LMDH. Yeah, so JDC Miller Motorsports is going to be joining the fact. Well, JDC Miller Motorsports is going to be one of the privateer customer teams with support from Porsche, but the factory backed organization is going to be Porsche Penske Motorsport, fielded by Roger Penske's operation. So really exciting news for Porsche there. So right now we know there'll be at least 3 Porsche LMDH cars on the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Grid. Really exciting time for sports car racing, and be sure to tune into a special edition of Grid Live pre-race tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll be myself and Adam Limmeries. We're going to be previewing this year's Sailing 6 Hours of the Glen. And moving on to the second race of the Camping World SRX Series season, and it's going to take place tonight in Southern Virginia at the iconic South Boston Speedway, a track known for its delicious bologna burgers. Many of NASCAR's greatest stars have raced at this track: Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, Bobby Allison, and even Tony Stewart, who's in the SRX race tonight. We've also seen Virginia natives compete and find success, like Denny Hamlin from Chesterfield, the brothers, Elliott Sadler and Hermie Sadler from Emporia. Another driver from Virginia in the show tonight, Peyton Sellers from Danville, a well-known name in short track racing. In 2021, he won the track championships at Dominion Speedway and right here at South Boston. Plus, Peyton Sellers won the 2021 NASCAR Weekly Series National Championship. Adam, what do you expect from Sellers in the race tonight?
Well, Kobe, to me, I think what we'll see from Peyton Sellers is what we saw last Saturday night with Bubba Pollard down at Five Flag Speedway in Pensacola, Florida. I think Peyton Sellers will be really, really good. You mentioned Kobe. He's won a track championship here. He's a defending NASCAR Weekly Series national champion. So he has a lot of laps here at South Boston Speedway. So I anticipate Peyton Sellers to have at least a top 5 spot when the race is over. I think he could get on the podium, but like we saw last Saturday night down in Florida, there's so much good talent in SRX this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of great talent in SRX, and I agree with you. I think Peyton Sellers can easily get a top 5 finish. And I think the Southern Virginia crowd is going to be on their feet and really excited to see Peyton Sellers competing in this field. He's been one of Virginia's best short track racers for many years now, and it's really nice to see him getting this opportunity to get in competitive equipment in SRX and go out there and compete against some of the top stars in motorsports over the years. And last year's SRX champion Tony Stewart didn't really perform as well as we thought he would at Five Flat Speedway last weekend. He finished 10th in the race, and he's tied for 5th in points, 15 points behind 2 drivers who are tied for the championship lead, Tony Kanaan and Ryan Newman. And as I mentioned, Stewart has past experience here at South Boston. Is this the perfect place for him to rebound from last week and get a win?
Yeah, I do believe so. And it's kind of nice to see we have an IndyCar star and a former NASCAR star leading the points. But I anticipate Tony Stewart to get up there and compete with the best tonight, and I think he is a favorite to bring home the checkered flag at South Boston Speedway. And I anticipate a lot of those drivers having some of those delicious bologna burgers you mentioned, Kobe, because it's really good. So I anticipate Tony Stewart to have a solid finish at South Boston Speedway later tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll be a perfect place for Tony to rebound. I look for him to claw his way back into this championship. It was quite strange last Saturday night because I expected Tony Stewart to be running up towards the front and get a really solid finish. I'm not sure what happened to Tony to get that 10th place finish, but he's probably gonna obviously brush it off and he's gonna be ready to go tonight under the lights at South Boston Speedway. And thinking about those South Boston bologna burgers, I kind of want to get a bologna has a really great place to get a bologna burger here in town in Reedsville at a restaurant called Pete's Burgers and More. Their bologna burgers are really good, but they're probably no match for what they have up at South Boston. I love to go to South Boston at some point in the future to try out that bologna burger and whoever wins the SRX race tonight. I think the trophy should be several bologna burgers for them.
Absolutely. I mean, when you win at Martinsville, you get a historic grade full of clock. So I anticipate the trophy will have something to do with the historic bologna burgers that they have at South Boston Speedway. And now it's time for everybody's favorite game here at Grid Network, Pick a Winner. And we take a look at our updated leaderboard that you see on the screen and use the hashtag Pick a Winner on social media, and you can see your name appearing on our leaderboard. So let's get started. First up, the MotoGP Series is at the legendary Austin circuit in the Netherlands for the Dutch TT. We talked about this race with Josh a little earlier, and he predicted that Fabio Quartararo is going to make it 2 in a row. So, Joe, I'll start with you. Does Fabio Quartararo make it 2 wins in a row this weekend at Austin?
Fabio is going to go out there and finish second place to Pecco Bagnaia. I think Pecco, he's going to race a smart race. He's not going to crash out. That Ducati has the speed in that first sector. Fabio's going to make him work for the win. And I think this is going to be Pecco showing the Ducati team after that talk, he could win. He could hold up the pressure. Because at the end, I don't anticipate Quartararo to go all out attack on Pecco, but just enough to try to rattle his cage. But Pecco's not going to fall, and Pecco's going to get the win.
Well, I'm actually going to be going with Josh on this. So I think Fabio Quartararo is going to get the job done and get another win and keep building towards taking home his second MotoGP World Championship.
Even though I am, as you can see, fourth in the standing, a long way behind Kobe, but I have to agree with what Kobe and Josh said. I'm going to go with Fabio Quartararo as well. Even though he starts second on the grid at Austin, he looks like the rider to beat in MotoGP, and I think Fabio Quartararo, when the season's over, he wins his second consecutive MotoGP World Championship. And next, we head from Austin to the Music City of Nashville, Tennessee, where NASCAR is this weekend, and someone will be strumming a brand new guitar when the checkered flag falls for a trophy. So, Joe, I'll start with you. Who strums a beautiful beat and takes the win in the Music City of Nashville, Tennessee tomorrow afternoon?
I'm looking at Ross Chastain. He has 2 wins already. It's been a while since he got a win. He got second place here last year, I believe. Thanks in part to fuel mileage, I see him getting the win. That number one team, along the 99, have been fast, but I think he and that team could go out there, get that win at Nashville.
And I think the winner of the Ally 400 at Nashville is going to be a driver who was fast yesterday in practice. And I want to pick Bubba Wallace, but the only issue with that is that team has really struggled to put together a complete race. And Bubba has shown speed on the mile and a half tracks. I know Nashville is not a mile and a half, but it's really close to being a mile and a half. And Bubba showed some great speed at Kansas and also Charlotte as well before he didn't had to retire from that race, but I don't feel confident enough picking a number 23, so I'm gonna go to the next fastest Toyota driver. I think Kyle Busch is gonna get it done again and win at Nashville Super Speedway, and hopefully this time he doesn't destroy the guitar that really angered a lot of fans earlier in his NASCAR Xfinity Series career.
Well, Kobe, I'm going with another Joe Gibbs driver, and I'm going to say Kyle Busch's teammate from Virginia. I'm going Denny Hamlin. He won the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte, so to me, I'm something about the way Denny Hamlin has run lately tells me that he wants to be in the championship for when we get to Phoenix later on in the year. So I'm going Denny Hamlin. And next, we go from Nashville to the legendary South Boston Speedway Short Oval in Virginia, where the Camping World SRX Series is there tonight. So with that being said, all right, Joe, who wins at the legendary South Boston Speedway circuit later tonight?
I'm going with Ernie Francis Jr. He won at Indianapolis Raceway Park last year in SRX. I believe he got third place in Knoxville. With his experience, I think he could really adapt to South Boston, get a win, and definitely, I think, make another charge for an SRX championship.
Well, Joe, that's going to be impossible for Ernie this year because he's not running full time for the SRX Championship. He's running in Indy Lights full time, so that has to take priority. So he's only going to be running select races in that SRX series. So unfortunately, he won't be eligible for that championship. But I'm sure getting the win at South Boston would really be a big rebound from last race weekend because he did not have a good race at all. Something happened with the car during the heat race, and he wasn't that strong at all in the feature event. So I'm sure Ernie certainly wants to put last week behind him. I'm going to go with the driver that was battling with Bubba Pollard last weekend towards the end of the race that ultimately allowed Elio Castroneves to escape. And this driver is at the very top of the SRX driver standing. I think Rocket Man, Ryan Newman's going to get the job done at South Boston Speedway.
Now, those are two really good, solid choices. But for me, I'm going with the local track star, Peyton Sellers. Knock off all those world champions and claim victory here at South Boston Speedway. He has won a track championship, and he is the defending NASCAR Weekly Racing Series national champion. And he wants to put on a good show on national television in front of a lot of his friends and family that will be there at South Boston Speedway. And next, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series is at the historic Watkins Glen International Circuit this weekend for the Salen's 6 Hours of the Glen. Kobe and I have already made our picks, and you can see them on our special pre-race show that airs tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. So with that being said, all right, Joe, who wins the Salem 6 Hours of the Glen tomorrow at Watkins Glen International?
I'm going to 0-1. I feel the 0-1. They've been good all year long. I don't see why they cannot win at Watkins Glen, the 6-hour race. So I see them getting the win at the Glen and, of course, tomorrow you will see that special Grid Life pre-race, a busy Grid Life weekend. So we'll have that Grid Life pre-race for the IMSA race. Then we're going to have a Grid Life wrap-up for MotoGP and the World Rally Championship Rally Africa Kenya Safari Rally. And then, following the conclusion of the NASCAR race, the final Grid Life wrap-up recapping the NASCAR Ally 400 race. So it's going to be a very busy weekend, but we'll be on the air, and be sure to subscribe to the Grid Network right here on YouTube so you don't miss any of our programs. And of course, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We live stream on Twitch, LinkedIn, Twitter, and right here on YouTube. And of course, you can visit us through our Patreon page or buy me a coffee, which is a one-time contribution. We'll greatly appreciate that. And visit our sponsor, public.com, to get $5 in free stock by using the referral code GRIDnet. Social media homepage, public.com, tools to learn how to invest in the stock market and get more familiar so you're not in the dark, investing with no knowledge. Use the tools there, meet people, listen to their daily podcast, and learn about investing in the stock market. We want to thank everyone for tuning into today's program. Be sure to like and comment, especially comment who do you think is going to win each race. We'd love to hear your picks and potentially include it in our pick a winner leaderboard. So we encourage everyone to comment with that. With that said, we are all out of time. For Adam Lemeries and Kobe Lambeth from the Podium Finish, I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time. Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com.